Hey everyone, how's it going? Forrest here, again with another installment of my complete analysis of all of J.S. Bach's chorale harmonizations. Today we're looking at Du, o schönes Weltgebäude, which translates to You, O beautiful building of the world. This is a pretty interesting chorale. We have a misleading key signature and some interesting modulations going on throughout. But all in all, the harmony pretty much functions the way that you would expect it to in a tonal piece, so we'll just hop right into the analysis with that in mind. Two flats in the key signature, we start on C minor and we end on C major, so we have a little bit of a conflict here. I don't think it's as clear as the key signature usually suggests. I think we actually start in the key of G minor, even though this chorale is largely in the key of C minor. The first cadence we have is actually a perfect authentic cadence in the key of G minor, even though we cadence on G major here, and that's because F sharps are used throughout. This B natural at the end is a byproduct of the Picardy third, and also the fact that this G is going to be used as a pivot chord to get back to C minor. That is to say that, we start with the idea of C minor, but there's not really enough context by itself to instantiate the idea. So G minor, we also start out with this weird measure. It's incomplete. We start with a quarter rest and this syncopated half note. So we have C minor to start things out, which is a 4 chord, and then we have B flat, D, and G. That is G minor over B flat, which is 1/6. We then have A, C, F sharp, and C, which is F sharp diminished over A, that's 7/6, with a passing tone in the alto. We then have F sharp, E, A, and C. I think even though this could be interpreted as a 7/7 chord, and that's fully diminished, not half diminished, I think it sounds more like it really doesn't matter. I'm calling it 5/6/5, like a D7 over F sharp. They're essentially the same chord. It really just depends on how you look at it. I look at this C and this E flat as enclosing around the D here, and as we're approaching G, I think the idea of a D dominant being introduced, especially with G minor afterwards, right? G, D, G, and B flat, with this A being a suspension over the bass or an accented non-chord tone, however you look at it. I think, 7 going to 5, kind of not a normative progression, but we still see it from time to time. It's a relatively rare progression. And then we get C, E flat, G, and B flat. However, I think this B flat, the same way that this A is a suspension, is a 7/6 suspension over the bass, and this is actually A diminished over C, which would be a 2/6 chord as we're getting ready for or more specifically a 2/6/5 chord, because we do have the 7th there in the alto, as we're getting ready for the cadence, and we know that Bach loves his 2/6/5 chords. D, D, F sharp, and A. This G is a 4/3 suspension over the bass. That D chord is a 5, a little delayed 7th here in the tenor, and then we get an uppercase tonic, right? A major tonic, because this is going to be our common chord to the key of C minor, which is the key of the next phrase, and really the key of the chorale, even though this first phrase is in G minor. So bearing that in mind, we have 5 going to A flat, C, C, and E flat, which is a 6 chord. That's an example of a deceptive progression. Even though it's its own phrase followed by a rest, it's still that idea of going to a non-tonic chord is deceptive. We then have E flat, G, C, and G, which is C minor over E flat. That's a tonic triad in first inversion. We then have F, A flat, D, and F. And I think they're the same way that we have this chord right here, where it could be interpreted a couple of ways. I interpreted this as 2/6, right? D diminished over F. But you could look at this B as the chord tone here and call this 7/4/3, like a fully diminished 7th with the B and the A flat. But then we get F sharp, A, C, and E. Same thing again. I'm calling this 5/6/5 of, in this case, 5/6/5 of 5 here, but I guess you could call this 7/7 of 5 as well, depending on how you look at it. A little interpretation here because of the you have to interpret, what chord is, or what note is the chord tone and what note is the non-chord tone. But this is just sort of what it sounds like to me. I think 2 going to 5 of 5 is more likely. Then eventually goes to G, G, C, and E, which is not 5, but it resolves the way that you would expect it to in the bass. This is C minor over G, which is 1-6-4. And then we get G, G, B natural, and D, which is our 5, with the passing 7th in the tenor. We go to 5. We use this bracket sometimes to show their relationship to one another. And of course we cadence on our tonic minor. And here we get 2 very similar phrases. I think there's one harmonic difference between the 2 of them, but they have the same melodic material. And I think we're in the key of E flat major here. This is a perfect authentic cadence in the key of E flat major. And I think we modulate straight away. We start off with C minor, but that's going to be recontextualized as the submediant passing 7th in the bass. We get A flat, B flat, D, and F, which is B flat 7 over A flat, in other words 5-4-2. And then we get G, B flat, E flat, and G, which is our tonic in first inversion. 5-4-2 wants to go to 1-6. Then we have F, C, F, and A flat, that is F minor, which is our supertonic. We have D, B flat, F, and A flat, which is another 5-7 chord, this time in first inversion. And then we have E flat, B flat, F, and G. This is probably the most interesting chord in the chorale because we have this enclosure here where we're surrounding E flat, and we expect it to resolve to E flat, which it does, but by the time we get the resolution, the chord has changed. So 1 is definitely being implied here. We have the complete triad outside of the alto, but then it gets turned into C minor in the next on the next beat, C, C, E flat, and G, which is just a 6 chord. We then get A flat, C, E flat, and F, which is F minor 7 over A flat. Bach loves his 2-6-5 chords. And then we get B flat, D, and F with a passing 7th in the tenor. That's a 5 chord. And then we cadence on 1. Now, for all intents and purposes, the next phrase is pretty much the exact same, but I think there is one slight difference in the... is there one slight difference? Is that just my imagination? Anyways, we'll reanalyze it just to make sure. We have C, G, C, and E flat, which is a C minor chord, that's 6. Passing tone in the bass, or passing 7th, A flat, D, A flat, B flat, D, and F, which is 5-4-2, B7 over A flat. And then we go to G, B flat, E flat, and G, which is 1-6, E flat over G. F, C, F, and A flat, that is F minor in root position, which is our 2. D, B flat, F, and A flat, which is D7, or B flat 7 over D, which is 5-6-5. That wants to go to 1. E flat, B flat, F, and G. We see this same enclosure figure here, where we have F going down to D, and then it resolves here. But this is still pretty much a 1 chord, just with a little embellishment. Then we go to C, C, E flat, and G, which is a 6 chord. And it looks like these phrases actually are identical. Yeah, they're identical. There's nothing different between them. We have A flat, C, E flat, and F, which is F minor 7 over A flat, which is 2-6-5. Bach loves his 2-6-5 chords. And then we get B flat, D, and F, which is 5. Passing 7th here in the tenor. And then we cadence on E flat, G, B flat, and E flat. And I think they really are just carbon copies of one another. There are no visual differences between them, which is interesting. Very cool. Okay, next phrase is ends in a half cadence in the key of C minor, but I don't think we modulate right away. We have E flat here, E flat, B flat, E flat, and G, and that goes to A flat over C, 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 E flat, and A flat, which is 4-6. Oh, sorry, that's not an A flat, that's an A natural. A natural, C, C and E flat, which is A diminished over C, which is very different. That's 7, 6 of 5. So this is just a substitute for A flat. It's like the same chord, but with an A natural. And that does go to 5. B flat, F, and B flat. Oh no, sorry. D, B flat, F, and B flat. Switching clefs is always confusing for me. That's 5, 6. And then we get E flat, B flat, E flat, and G, which is E flat major in root position, which is our tonic. And then we get, and I think we can say that we modulate here because we have the movement in the melody as well. It kind of brings the idea of C minor in. We can call this 3. We get A flat, C, E flat, and C, which is A flat major in root position. That's a 6 chord. That's a good sign because 3 wants to go to 6. We have some passing tones in the lower voices. And then we get F sharp, A, E flat, and C. But I think this D is our culprit here. This E is just a 7-6 suspension over the bass. So I'm going to call this 5-6-5 of 5 because apologies for the loud engine in the background. I live on a busy street. We have D7 over F sharp, but you could call this 7 fully diminished 7 of 5 as well. They really are functioning the same way, so really I think this is just a 7-6 suspension over the bass. That's why I think this is a 5 chord rather than a 7 chord, but it doesn't really make that much of a difference, functionally speaking. And then we cadence on 5. And in this case we see that the G major chord is functioning like a dominant as its primary function, as opposed to being recontextualized as a dominant moving forward. Slight difference between the two, even though really, ipso facto, they're more or less functioning the same way. This one's primarily a dominant. Okay, then our last cadence is a perfect authentic cadence in the key of C minor. We have E flat, G, G, and C. That's C minor in first inversion. Passing tone in the bass. We get C, C, G, and E flat. That's another C minor chord, just this time in root position. F natural, C, A flat, and D. That is D diminished over F, 2, 6, 5. So we're getting ready for a cadence. So we have some neighbor tones, otherwise non-chord tones. We have G, B natural, G, and D. That's definitely a 5 chord happening after this 2, 6, 5. And it's interesting how it's sort of separating two. We have an A flat here in the bass, so a little bit of a deceptive progression. We have A flat, C, G, and C. But if we look at this C as an accented non-chord tone and really, the C as really just a stepping stone to get to this D here, we have D, F, A flat, and C. We have 2, 4, 3, so this 5 is just separating two supertonic chords. Before we go to G, E flat, G, and C, which is C minor over G, or tonic in second inversion. G, D, G, and B, which is G major, which is our dominant in root position. Been seeing a lot of cadential 6/4s in this chorale. And then of course we cadence, this being a minor chorale after all, on our tonic major chord. C, E, G, and C. So all in all, a pretty straightforward chorale. Interesting progression here. Another interesting progression here where we get 6 going to 5 of 5, going to 5. Not unprecedented, but still kind of unusual. When I say unusual, also, it's not necessarily, it's not a bad thing. I know like in, colloquial, like in conversation, right? If we say unusual, it could have like a negative connotation, but I think in an analytical context, what I mean is that it's not likely that you see it, so it's not, it literally means not usual. So the fact that it's unusual means that it's actually cooler because it's not something that you would expect to see. We also get some like dominant pairings, like 7 going to 5. That's kind of interesting as well. 7 going to 5, we see it a couple of different places. In this case, it's a little different, but yeah, here is kind of an unusual progression as well. But all in all, the harmony more or less functions the way that we would expect, so analysis wasn't too difficult. That being said, I think I will cap the analysis off for today. Thank you so much for watching the video and continuing to support the channel. It's so awesome that people are watching the videos and they're picking up traction. I've been checking my YouTube studio more frequently now that I actually am getting, you know, I think a substantial number of views on my videos. I have a video with like more than 100 views now, which is really exciting, considering it's only been posted for a couple of months. Very, very exciting. And there are so many more videos to make, which I'm looking forward to like tremendously. So thank you so much for continuing to watch the channel and support my content. It's really wonderful. I do this because I enjoy it. I'm not trying to grow the channel into something so like, you know, this massive analysis channel or anything. This is largely for me and largely just because I enjoy sharing my findings. So I hope you're enjoying the trip with me. Again, thanks for watching the video, thanks for supporting the channel, and I hope you take care.